If you've been on YouTube or the greater internet lately, you probably have stumbled upon some sort of promotional material for Wrath of the Lich King. Whether it's a Facebook ad from Blizzard, a Platinum WoW video talking about lore, or this bald-headed attic goblin going on rants about why Wrath was so good, this game is all over the place and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. But what is Wrath of the Lich King and why is it such a big deal, you might be wondering? Maybe you've never played World of Warcraft before, and so you're curious. Or maybe you have played WoW, but you're unfamiliar with this expansion and time period in WoW's history. Either way, in order to answer the question of why was Wrath of the Lich King such a big deal, we need to go back to the past, all the way back to 2002. It began with the release of Warcraft 3, a real-time strategy game from Blizzard Entertainment that was a sequel to both Warcraft 1 and 2. This game, unlike its predecessors, had 3D graphics, more developed characters, it introduced new races like the Night Elves and Scourge, and a whole lot more. But the most important thing, or person, that was introduced to the world through Warcraft 3 was the character of Arthas Menethil. Now, Arthas was a paladin of the Silver Hand, a prince of the Kingdom of Lordaeron, and through the story of Warcraft 3, players followed his journey from being a noble hero destined for greatness and glory to becoming twisted by his desire to protect his homeland. He ultimately sacrifices his soul to an evil magic sword called Frostmourne, and then he proceeds to turn on the very people that he was once trying to protect. He even murders his own father, all in the name of a mysterious being called the Lich King. Now, this is a guy who commands legions of undead warriors dedicated to purging all life from Azeroth, and Arthas kinda accidentally gave his soul to his sword. As the story continues, Arthas ultimately fights against this Night Elf demon hunter who is nowhere near as cool as Malfurion, and he soon ascends the Frozen Throne in Northrend to unite himself with the Lich King, becoming one with him and the new master over the Scourge. And that is how Warcraft 3 ends. Arthas seated atop a frozen spire, falling into a hibernation, waiting for his time to rise again to lead the Scourge in an effort to purge all life from the world. Warcraft 3 was an absolute massive success for Blizzard Entertainment, bringing the company huge amounts of revenue, as well as credibility for being an A-level developer of games. And Arthas Menethil, who had been the primary character in Warcraft 3, quickly became one of gaming's most iconic villains. The Fallen Prince, the Runeblade Frostmourne, the Frozen Throne. People loved Arthas and they couldn't get enough of him. Warcraft 3 had ended on a cliffhanger though with the new Lich King, and so everybody was waiting on the edge of their seat, wondering what's gonna happen next. But instead of making a Warcraft 4, another strategy game, and continuing the story of Arthas, Blizzard decided to make a rather controversial decision. You see, instead, they were going to focus on creating an MMORPG now, a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, which they were going to call World of Warcraft. A game whose goal was to bring the world that the Warcraft games had established to life. And as you're probably well aware, I mean, come on, World of Warcraft took the world by storm. After its release in 2004, World of Warcraft quickly became the biggest MMORPG in the market, surpassing all of its competitors like EverQuest, Star Wars Galaxies, or even free online games like RuneScape. Players loved the open world element to the game, the classes, the races, the lore, and the storytelling that Blizzard had crafted for them. It was a new age in gaming, certainly. Even South Park picked up on it and made a whole parody episode of the game. And as World of Warcraft's popularity grew, so too did Blizzard's desire to create an expansion continuing the story of the game. But did Blizzard start World of Warcraft with a focus on Arthas Menethil, Warcraft 3's signature character? Or did they choose to make him the focus of World of Warcraft's first expansion? Nope. Blizzard decided that they were going to make us wait. Those of us who had played Warcraft 3 and desired heavily to go to Northrend. We wanted to wade through those snowy forests, visit the ice-capped mountains in the north, and see the Frozen Throne ourselves. But we had to wait. We had to wait until the end of classic World of Warcraft, as well as the game's first expansion, The Burning Crusade. But then, in 2004, at BlizzCon, it happened. Blizzard Entertainment revealed that the next expansion for World of Warcraft was going to be called Wrath of the Lich King, which would continue the story of Arthas Menethil where it was left off in Warcraft 3. The Lich King had now awakened, his undead hordes were ravaging across Azeroth, and now it would fall to us, the heroes of the Horde and the Alliance, to defeat him in his own Northland domain. Blizzard was excited, the players were excited. World of Warcraft was now boasting a population of over 12 million active players. It was time. It was time to conclude what began all those years ago in 2002 and put an end to the tyranny of the Lich King. So how did it go, you might be wondering? Well, to be honest, Wrath of the Lich King was a mixed bag in terms of a WoW expansion for those of us that played it. Despite it being considered the best World of Warcraft expansion ever made, and arguably so, there were some things about this expansion that did leave people upset. For one thing, for a lot of people, this was going to be their last WoW expansion. They had specifically chosen to play this game solely for the fact that they wanted to kill the Lich King, and now they would. So Wrath had a bit of a bittersweet feeling to it, like you were playing the final days of the game in its prime, which ultimately ended up to be true. Wrath also had, of course, some gameplay and story issues going on with it. Wrath introduced a lot of tank and spank gameplay to the game and its dungeons. The raids at release were pathetically easy. Wintergrasp lag. The Trial of the Crusader tournament was kind of odd from a story perspective, and even things like looking for group appeared at the end of Wrath of the Lich King, which has been a highly controversial feature in WoW ever since its release into the game. Regardless of opinions though, Wrath of the Lich King went down as World of Warcraft's best expansion, and the game has never seen any success like it since. Right after Wrath ended, we saw tons of players leaving the game over time, not being interested so much in Wrath's sequel, Cataclysm, and we also saw the quality of the game begin to drop progressively over the years, until we've reached a point today where the modern game is almost unrecognizable to its early years. And as the game slowly declined and as it changed, we saw a large group of people start to demand classic servers. They wanted to play the game World of Warcraft as it was all those years ago. And it took a few years and a lot of drama to convince Blizzard to do this, but ultimately Blizzard did decide, hey, we're gonna put classic realms in the game. They released these servers initially so that you could play the game as it was at launch, for the most part, and it was a huge success for Blizzard. And sometime later, they released the Burning Crusade, World of Warcraft's first expansion again, and that too was an absolute massive success. Tons of people were playing World of Warcraft again, old players were coming back to re-experience old nostalgic memories, and Blizzard was just having a good time, making some money from classic WoW. Now, I can't say there was a lot of success going on in the modern game during this time, but you know, it is what it is. But now, we have finally reached a very pivotal moment in World of Warcraft's history. The release of Wrath of the Lich King Classic, the opportunity to go back and play World of Warcraft's best expansion again, and see for ourselves, how does this expansion hold up? Is it going to be just as controversial as it was in the past, or are people going to absolutely love it? Now, Blizzard is very clearly excited. You can tell by all the promotional material. Content creators are excited. Everybody's excited for Wrath, because there's a sort of feeling of conclusiveness that is coming with this expansion. A lot of people, just like all those years ago, don't want to play classic World of Warcraft past Wrath of the Lich King. They don't want to play classic Cataclysm. And a lot of World of Warcraft players just aren't interested in the modern game anymore, even though World of Warcraft Dragonflight does look pretty good in a lot of ways. And so for many, Wrath of the Lich King is sort of the end of WoW, potentially. Wrath will go throughout its patch cycle, will kill the Lich King again, and it's very possible that just like how the love of Arthas Menethil gave rise to World of Warcraft initially all those years ago, Arthas Menethil and his death may be the end of World of Warcraft. And that is why this expansion, Wrath of the Lich King, is such a big deal. It focuses on one of gaming's most iconic villains, one of the biggest fan favorite characters in World of Warcraft among the community. This is considered the best WoW expansion ever released in terms of its music, its tone, its gameplay, albeit some controversial decisions here and there. And so it's exciting to see how the community is going to react and how this expansion is going to play out. Now, if you're somebody that you want to check out Wrath of the Lich King, or maybe you've fallen behind everybody in terms of your leveling, I highly recommend after watching this video, you watch this video on your screen right now, because I share 10 tips on how to level faster in World of Warcraft so that you can get to Northrend as quickly as you can, get to level 80, and start your journey towards the Frozen Throne. Thanks for watching, guys.